Welcome to the Shabby And Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything else in between. And namaskar, dosto. Welcome to another edition of your favorite Desi podcast. You know, I love the word Desi. I hear Desi used everything. Desi cooking, Desi programs, Desi. I still don't know what Desi means. Desi means South Asian? It means subcontinent? What does
it means, as in wherever you're from. In our case, it will be South Asian. And it's a word which I think is heavily overused. That
makes no sense. If you're German, you don't say wherever you're from. Oh, I'm German, so I'm Desi. It means from the subcontinent only.
Yeah, in our case, it is the subcontinent.
So
Desi
what does
essentially
Desi mean
means
for other people then?
Whatever your ethnic roots are.
It can only be South Asian.
Yeah, because the word is in Hindi. That's why. Or Hindi, Punjabi, whatever. Desi means essentially.
Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu.
Yeah.
Bangladeshi.
Your point being?
That Desi can be anything. I don't know. Your point being that it means wherever you're from. It doesn't. It means if you're specifically from the subcontinent.
Well, there you go. Anyway. Yeah, but I'd like to think that this podcast caters to people who are outside the subcontinent as well and not of Asian descent.
Well, it's true. Talking of Desi.
Yes.
Our very own Desi won the third term running as the London Mayor.
That's right. It's the first time. It's the first time in the history of London that we've had the same mayor for 3 terms, right?
Probably. I think so, yes.
And are we allowed to reveal who we voted for and who our choice was? Or would you reckon that's for another podcast? Maybe it is for another podcast. But I think we're all, as British Asians, very proud of the fact that Sadiq Khan...
There are many, many British Asians...
in politics.
...who are not proud of the fact, who do not like some of the, what is the word I'm looking for? Not topics, but some of his policies.
Yeah.
Especially about ULEZ, where you have to pay to go into the city. Some things are quite controversial. I personally like a lot of his ideas, that free school meals for kids. I think that's very nice.
I like the fact that he comes from a humble background, and yet he's done so well for himself on the basis of hard work. And, he's a lawyer, he's an accomplished man. I've met him on several occasions. I've interviewed him on several occasions. He comes across as a really nice guy. And I think any political office is not an easy profession for anyone, especially in these times, in a post-COVID scenario, in a scenario where global warming and migration and all these things are burning topics in every country, in every city.
And it's very hard.
It's hard to find...
To keep winning.
And it's hard to please everybody. So I think it's not just Sadiq Khan. Anyone who's in power, anyone who's in a position to make decisions on behalf of an entire city will find it a very challenging task. And I think he's risen to the challenge admirably.
I do know personal friends of mine who loathe his policies.
Yeah.
But I personally think he was the better option. The other options were even worse, I think.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London for the 3rd time.
And of course, there's politics happening in India as well, where again it's a very similar scenario. Where we don't know who's going to win. We can guess who's going to win, and it's choosing the best of
the worst
case scenario.
Yeah, that's true. And it should really not be like that. I mean, you should not have to fall back on someone simply because there were no other alternatives. But I think that's what politics has come to all across the world. It's about choosing the lesser of the two evils, right? And of course, this is a big year because America is gearing up for elections, the UK is gearing up for elections, India mein elections ho rahe hain.
The London mayor and all were local elections.
Yeah.
But the ruling party, the Conservative Party, got hammered.
Yes.
And the projection is that the same thing is going to happen in the actual elections whenever they're announced.
Yeah, that Labour is going to win by a landslide. Is that what they're saying?
It probably will be by Rishi Sunak.
Also,
didn't your station just interview him 2 weeks ago?
We did indeed.
Where he said you asked some nice questions about his favorite Hindi movie.
Yeah.
What was his answer? Remind me?
Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum.
Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum.
Yeah, not me. I mean, my MD went to interview him.
Yeah, I mean your station. That's why.
My station, and it was quite. Yeah, I think it revealed a side to Rishi Sunak that many people may not be aware of. I certainly wasn't. That there is a lighter side to him. That he did come across as a man who believes in his faith, who believes in karma, who believes in working hard, doing his duty, doing the best thing doing right by his values.
He's talking about the Gita.
The Gita, and like
Krishna Bhagwan and Arjun.
Yeah, essentially not worrying too much about the result, but doing the best that you can within your own capability, and hoping that it.
One of his answers I liked was they asked him, I think, what's his favorite meal.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if he's vegetarian or not, but he did say that to keep my wife happy, I'll say dosa.
Yeah.
She's South Indian.
In case she's listening.
Yeah.
But other than that, did he say chicken tikka or something like that, right?
He might have said, I like a chicken curry.
Yeah, a chicken curry. So, I'd also like to mention that it was a historic year for those of us voting for the Mayor of London elections, because this is the first time that we had to carry a photo ID to the polling booth, right?
Doesn't that happen in India anyway?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So, and especially in this part of the country, it never happened, right?
Never happened.
It's the first time, so it's a very big thing that the Election Commission, or whatever the equivalent of the Election Commission in this country is rolling out, that you can no longer vote without a valid photo ID, whether it's a driving license or a passport, or if you don't have either of these two, then you can apply for a photo ID specifically for the reasons of voting. But I think it's a very big step towards keeping democracy safe, because this is one of the things third world countries face a lot: booth capturing,
but
people coming and voting.
It was quite tactical by the ruling Conservative Party, because most Conservative voters are elderly. And they were allowed to bring in their freedom pass, their bus passes, but younger people were not allowed.
Yeah.
So they said that,
there was also this, I know we're talking politics today, so we may as well, broach it now. There's also a lot of talk about the photo ID actually discouraging a lot of young people. I don't think that would have been the case.
That's what I'm saying. They said the older people would probably go.
No, but I don't think that's correct, because I think younger people are very technically adept at, embracing change. And I don't think for them it would have been such a big deal to carry a photo ID and land up at.
According to the figures, they think thousands didn't turn up because of this.
Because of this?
Yeah.
Well, in our household, it was the first time that three of us actually were legally allowed to vote. So it's now only our youngest who has not yet reached voting age yet. But wo din bhi dur nahi hai ab. Chaliye, so much for politics. We ended up, this was one of the weeks, since we last recorded a podcast 2 weeks ago, we ended up watching a lot of television, which is very unusual for us.
A lot of OTT.
A lot of OTT.
Over the top.
And
in Hindi, and streaming services if you're living in the UK. People call it different things, don't they?
Yes.
Basically, we watch a lot of Netflix is what I'm trying to say.
We did. And Heera Mandi is one of the things that we wanted to talk about. It's an 8-part series. It was talked about and written about, not just was, it still is. It stirred up a lot of controversy. People from either side of the border, and I'm talking about the Indian subcontinent here, India and Pakistan.
Now it's been out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So most people know the story. You were privileged enough
to get a preview.
To get to see it before other people.
Yes, we got to see it almost a month, all 8 episodes, a month before everybody else. Sadly, we were not allowed to talk about it until the 1st of May, when it started streaming. So I did review it on my show as well, and I felt that, you have to subscribe to Sanjay Leela Bansali's aesthetic, first and foremost.
It's very pretty.
It's pretty, it's opulent, it's extravagant, it's dark, it's very dark. He really likes to deep dive into the deepest recesses of the human heart.
And you can tell a lot of money has been
lavished.
Thrown into this project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I enjoyed it. If I look at it, if I detach history from the story, which is hard to do.
That's what I was going to say. It got mixed reviews, didn't it?
It did indeed. And with each passing day, if I'm completely honest, I think a lot of the criticism does carry merit. Although, as a story of relationships, as a story of women struggling to forge an identity, as a story of the Tawaifs of Heera Mandi, who are also battling the rising tide of nationalism at the same time. The Nawabs are trying to hold on to their positions while the Brits are marching on. And there's a lot going on in the story. I enjoyed it, I have to say. I'm not going to lie.
Is it set in the 1920s or 1940s?
20s. It's set in 1920s Lahore, but a lot of criticism has come its way. Not least because Sanjay Leela Bansali ended up casting his niece, Sharmeen Sehgal, in the lead. As in, there are many women, it's an ensemble, but she is the romantic lead. She plays Alamzeb, and a lot of people say that she was the least experienced, so she's got a lot of criticism.
She's a bit wooden.
She's bit wooden.
Compared to the Manisha Koiralas and Sonakshi Sainas.
Sonakshi and the Aditya Rao Haidaris, absolutely. And I don't think she was that bad.
Wasn't Farida Jalal also in it?
Farida Jalal was in it as well. And I think the find of the drama series was definitely The Man, right? I completely forget what his name is. Tahasha something or the other. I've never heard his name before, but I think he was really good. And they're saying that overnight he's become hot property in Bollywood, which is understandable.
Isn't Sanjay Leela Bhansali a bit obsessed with the wives?
That's what people are saying, that what is this obsession with prostitutes, and why is he glamorizing their world? Why is he shying away from the fact?
Because I'm thinking back to Devdas.
Yeah.
And Gangubai.
Yeah. Devdas mein Chandramukhi was a prostitute, and she's not one of the main. She is, okay.
Wasn't it Ash playing her?
No, of course not. Ash is playing Paru.
Wasn't Madhuri Dixit?
Madhuri is playing her, but it's not a story of the wives. Gangubai is a story of prostitutes, But you're right. A lot of criticism has come Sanjay Leela Bhansali's way, saying that why are you needlessly glamorizing a profession which is actually a woman's last resort? Who would like to make money selling their own body, selling their soul, right? And so they're heaping a lot of criticism on him for completely glamorizing their world and showing it, in an extremely extravagant way. People are also criticizing the historical context, and they're saying, in fact, there's a Pakistani historian, a very distinguished gentleman.
Heera Mandi set in Lahore.
Yeah.
Heera Mandi is in Lahore.
Yeah.
And I believe most Lahorians did not like it.
Did not like it at all. And they're saying that the real Heera Mandi is nothing like that. And this historian says that, what Sanjay Leela Bhansali has probably done is he's taken the Lucknow and the Agra vibe of what Lucknow and Agra
was in the 1890s.
Probably were much before the 1920s, and he's kind of assumed that Lahore of the 20s would have been exactly the same, which is historically it could not be further from the truth. And he also says that, in their defense, not so much Sanjay Bhansali himself, but all the girls have been saying, oh, but this was not meant to be a history lesson. I think he has a pertinent point when he says, then why call it Heera Mandi? Call it Phool Mandi, call it Sitara Mandi, call it even Sabzi Mandi. But the moment you're referencing a place which is actually there, which actually exists, which is known as the home of the wives, or was known, then we expect at least some sort of historical accuracy. And again, I don't know how Bhansali is going to defend this. And they're saying that it's not even that you didn't have enough money to engage a few people who could do a bit of proper research. I mean, probably the value of one chandelier of which you have about 20 in every frame.
We talked in the last episode about the opulent jewelry.
The opulent, yeah. So they're saying that he has probably placed a little too much value and emphasis on the jewelry, on the look, on the opulence. And he has not fleshed the character nor done justice to the period enough.
Well, my review is I liked it, apart from maybe the last episode. I felt that it
ended abruptly, that's what you're saying.
Ended very abruptly. They didn't tie the loose ends.
But then again, it's a matter of opinion, because a lot of people are saying, thank God for the last episode. Thank God for freedom being at least a subtext in the story, otherwise it would have been just another story on prostitution.
Inqilab
Zindabad, usne bacha liya. So you're right. I mean, if his aim was to get people talking and kind of get people debating, then he's clearly hit the bullseye, because it has riled enough people for them to go on social media and really slate Heera Mandi. And I think there is a brigade that's come out in its defense as well, saying that forget the historical accuracy and all the rest of it. As a story, it really cuts it. But then again, I said that with Bhansali, you know what you're in for. You know the world that he's going to invite you into. And if that is not your thing, then I think you're better off.
No, it's lovely to watch.
Not even trying to explore it.
Not denying, it's lovely to watch.
Yeah.
And it's great to see old actors make little cameos. Not old, you know what I mean, like Shekhar Suman and Salman Khan.
Yeah. I think Shekhar Suman's son Adhayan Suman is also
He's
a
also
find.
in it, yeah.
He's
now
done quite well.
You have the privilege, thanks to profession, of talking to most of these directors, because I know you chatted with him. And I want to move on to the next thing we watched, where you chatted with Kiran Rao, who did Laapataa Ladies, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now the thing was, when it came in the cinema,
it was blink and miss.
We didn't watch it. I don't think it stayed there long.
Yeah.
But it's really paved its way on OTT.
Yeah, it's found a whole new audience, and it's really, getting a lot of love from all corners of the world.
I enjoyed it.
I loved it, absolutely.
It's very simple.
Yeah. Beautifully told, no frills, no fuss. It is a simple, beautiful story. Bollywood fans are saying that this is harking back to the Basu Chatterjee, Rishikesh Mukherjee times, where the story was what really mattered.
And it's, as you also mentioned, that the ending pulls at your heartstrings, tugs your heartstrings.
Yeah. Beautifully done. Again, the actors are not big names at all.
I guess it is about women empowerment.
It is, but not in the most non-preachy way that you can imagine. And again, the duration is just right. The cast is absolutely spot on. It has dollops of humor. It's got fantastic acting.
Actually, all newbies apart from the great Ravi Krishan.
Ravi Krishan, and also the boy, I believe, he was in Jamtara, which is where Amir Khan spotted him. And it's a funny story. Jamtara is about fishing, right? And
fishing as in scam fishing.
Scam fishing. And Phishing. And he says that when Amir sir first called me and complimented me.
I thought you might be thinking of fishing like Bob Mortimer and Paul Whitehouse.
No.
Fishing.
No. So this actor, he says that when Amir San first called me and said that I really loved your work in Jamtara and I'd like you to be a part of, come and audition for this film, he said, obviously I thought somebody was winding me up. And I insisted that he video call me, which he did, which is when I was really convinced. And so Laapataa ladies, what a heartwarming, beautiful, beautiful film. Yet again, proving that if your content is good, your film will find its audience. It doesn't have to be an extravagant, opulent, multi-million pound, star-studded extravaganza. It can be a sweet and simple story.
So when you talk to
well told,
what did you ask? I forgot the...
It was amazing. She was talking about why she made it. She was talking about finding the courage of conviction to go through with it. She was talking about the fact that Amir auditioned for the role that eventually went to Ravi Kishan, and she said he was brilliant at it, but we thought that we didn't want his stardom to skewer your expectations. We wanted this to be a fresh story about people where the stardom did not matter at all. We wanted you to see those actors as the characters they were playing.
And did you mention to Karan Rao that we once saw three of us used to work together?
Yes, of course I did.
So
it was fantastic.
Years and years ago, we were all on, in the Delhi days, we were all on All India Radio together.
Yes.
She'd come straight from film school, I think, to be on radio.
And it was fantastic. It was lovely chatting with her, and it was even better once we'd seen the film. And you know that it deserves every ounce of love that it's getting.
Finally, we're talking about OTT. This movie obviously hasn't come out, but we're talking about Bollywood.
Yeah.
I heard you do a little rant the other day about Salman Khan and his new movie.
Oh yes.
What's the new movie called? Sikandar?
Yeah. Not Shaitan, Sikandar. Yes. Quite the opposite of Shaitan.
Yes.
It's called Sikandar. And
Shaitan is Ajay Devgan.
Ajay Devgan, which is again, people are saying,
which is on OTT.
Is on OTT, and people are saying it's really good, and they're recommending it. They're saying it's really good. Well, Madhavan, Ajay Devgan, and Jyotika making her comeback.
Oh my God! You spoke to Madhavan as well, didn't you?
I did.
About this movie.
About Shaitan.
You've been busy.
So Salman Khan is collaborating for the very first time with A.R. Murugadoss. For Bollywood audiences, A.R. Murugadoss is best known as the man who made Gajni.
I knew that. Yes.
So he first made it into a South Indian version, and then Amir Khan loved the story so much.
Anyone who's not Bollywood familiar here, Gajni is basically Memento, Christopher Nolan's Memento
from the year 2000. And A.R. Murugadoss's first collaboration with Salman Khan was meant to be a big deal. It's titled Sikandar. It's the big Eid film out next year, because Salman Khan is unofficially the Shahenshah of the Eid box office, as we all know. He's had many, many hits.
So he's had a couple of flops.
He's had a couple of flops as well. And what I really did not approve of was the fact that they have cast a girl who is 30 years, some say 31 years younger than him, Rashmika Mandanna, the lovely Rashmika Mandanna,
now,
the star of Pushpa, the star of Animal.
The presumption is that they're paired opposite each other. It could be
as a romantic lead.
As a romantic lead. We don't know. She could be his daughter.
Well, I'm willing to, 99.9%, I'm sure that she's not his daughter. And it's highly likely that they are a romantic lead, which is totally unacceptable. And I'm so pleased to see that a lot of people in the press, on social media, have called out Salman, saying that
30 years is actually
30 years is ridiculously ridiculous. And I must point. Look at his last film, Kisi Ka Bhai Kisi Ki Jaan, a super flop. Again against Pooja Hegde, who's again some 25 or 27 years younger than him. I think it's highly unbecoming of Bollywood A-listers. I'm even a little reluctant to call him an A-lister.
He is an A-lister. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
He was having hits before these girls were born.
Yeah, absolutely. To think that the day Rashmika was born, he was already a 30-year-old full-grown man, romancing other girls with a proper roaring Bollywood career.
Well, I hope you have your letter of apology ready when you find out it's...
Oh, but if he is cast as her uncle or her dad or her, friend, neighbor, mentor, guide, I'll be the first one to publicly apologize to Salman. But until then, I will have to give myself the benefit of the doubt and say that, this is absolutely ridiculous. People are saying that, this is probably the reason why Bhansali pulled the plug on Inshallah. 3 years ago, he announced Inshallah with Salman and Alia Bhatt, and people were absolutely aghast, rightly so. And I'm sure Alia must have seen a bit of sense and said, thank you, but no thank you. I don't know what made Rashmika say yes. People are saying, why blame her? She wouldn't pass up the opportunity to be cast against one of the biggest names in the industry, but come on. Not at the expense of being cast opposite your uncle and, like somebody who's old enough to be. It's from a different generation, again.
But you can't just blame Salman.
I can't blame Salman, absolutely. Anyone who does that.
This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Most of your A-list actors have been doing it.
That's true, but 15 saal phir bhi, 10-15 saal phir bhi you can reason with it. I mean, I know that Shah Rukh, Deepika, all of these people, it's not just Salman. But I'm sure Salman is the only one or perhaps the first one who's been cast opposite someone 30 years younger.
Yeah,
I had to Google it.
I have very vague memories of in the 80s. There was like Jitendra with a young Shri Devi and a young...
But would it have been 30 years?
No, I don't know how it
I doubt if it would have been 30 years, And times have changed. Don't forget, there was a time, our grandparents' generation, to some extent even our parents' generation, where, a 10-year gap between husband and wife was perfectly normal, perfectly common, right?
Still
times
is.
have changed. No, well, I know, love is love. But 30 years is unforgivable. We were hoping that Bollywood had moved on from this phase, and now we were kind of, really looking at, besides the fact that it's plain wrong, also the fact that there's no dearth of talent. They could easily cast him opposite somebody who's closer to his age and give them an age-appropriate love story. But that's too much hard work. Why will Bollywood do that?
Are you sure you're not more annoyed about the fact that the poor Priyankas and Malika Aroras get so much trolling and hardship because they're going out with younger people?
Yeah, that's also a fact. That's also a fact. But then, here it's just about this film. And it's, like I said, I don't care about the merit of the film at all. It could be the best made film on the planet. But if you're casting them as a romantic lead, then you're answerable to a lot of the people who are saying that this is not right. Well, that's it. I think that's all we have time for. In the next 2 weeks, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of interesting stuff which is in the pipeline, a lot of interesting stuff that's being talked about. Nitesh Timari's Ramayana and a whole lot of other stuff that people are buzzing about, which I would love to discuss on this podcast, and we'd love to hear from you and get your opinions on this.
Yeah, and maybe something interesting about this podcast as well. So keep your ears peeled.
Well,
keep your ears peeled or keep your eyes peeled?
Eyes peeled, yes.
And what do you say for ears?
Stay within earshot.
Stay within earshot.
कान अपने खुले रखिएगा, आंखें भी खुले रखिएगा. Well, until next time, I think it's time to take your leave and say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.